want to talk to you more in depth about the subconscious and my perspective from it. Not because I want to convince you of anything. These videos are not to convince you. They're just an opportunity to hear another person's perspective that's looking at this information from a quantum perspective. Hi, my name is Susan. I am not a master in any capacity, but I am an observer of the human spectrum. And I was noticing the subconscious. So the subconscious is 95% developed through the first 1 to 7 years. It is how you respond and why you continually experience a lot of things through your DNA, and even through family history, right? Like the way that your mom or dad did something and they were like, I'll never do that. And then you see yourself even using the same similar words, because this subconscious is an interesting aspect, kind of like an AI. And when I first started hearing about it and seeing it from a clear perspective of quantum, it kind of freaked me out, because it's very malleable and it's moving very instinctually based on a lot of information that's gone on from your first 7 years. And that's also even from the collective. So it's not just your family, but it's doing 95% of the work in you. And it's very quick to react. It wants to protect. It wants to do a good job for you. It wants to help you get through this life in the most effective way you possibly can. It wants you to avoid the least amount of hurt and pain. But remember, it's also perceiving what hurt and pain is and then creating a warning signal. Now, this subconscious is connected to your collective conscious. We're going to get to that in a split second, but let's stick to this being that is your subconscious. A lot of people identified that their subconscious is them, but their subconscious is not them. Their subconscious is experiences, emotions, and how we are projecting ourselves out into the world until an awareness of consciousness comes on to the scene, which is why you and I are here, because we're talking about the conscious approach to our emotions and our fears and our uncertainties and our human experience as a totality. We're playing with concepts of infinite realities. We're playing with concepts of truths and how we function in those truths and what is possible and capable for the human if we are to grow and evolve. That was a mouthful. Okay, so let's go back to the subconscious. So the subconscious is telling you, you have an experience like with Jane, let's say, and Jane triggers something within you. The subconscious has a way of dealing with it that helps you protect yourself, shield yourself, assume. So it takes data from another experience and it combines it with this data. It tells you all the reasons why you should have the choices that you have, and they're very solid. This has been going on for a long time, so it's not anything new. It's just the awareness to it that I would like to bring forth to all of you. So I wanted to understand it from a quantum spiritual perspective. I wanted to understand it from that perspective because I feel like my consciousness that I'm sharing with you in this awareness state called Susan is seeking to better understand the mechanics of humanity and humanness as a whole. And it's through the heart in which I'm exploring all of this, because I want to assist myself in the evolutionary state. But if I am going to assist myself in the evolutionary state, it has to come from the place of love, and it has to come from the place of curiosity, because if we're trying to impose anything else, you're going to feel a shutdown and rejection inside yourself, which could be the result of depression. It could be the result of suicide. There's a lot of things that can occur if you do not approach your internal exploration with love. I know, because I've tried it all and I've seen it all, and I've pushed against, and I've done a lot of stuff. So there's consequences to all of this. If you want to explore, the best thing to do when you do explore is to explore with love. And I believe you would benefit from having a spiritual support team through all of this. So whatever that looks like to you, definitely tap into that, because it helps you in times when you don't have a wider perspective because of the mechanics of yourself as a human. With all of that prefacing, like, we're not too deep in. It's like only 7 minutes in, or 6 minutes, 6:48. So we can keep going. Anyways, so I'm exploring the subconscious from a perspective of a friend, learning about a friend that I didn't even know about. So let me tell you about my friend. My friend does a lot of work. It's constantly working to do its very best for me. And it doesn't get a lot of appreciation and love back for it. So first step to acknowledging the subconscious is how much output it gives and gives and gives. And the subconscious wasn't created to, it was created like a AI data source, right? So it's constantly looking to do its very best for you with the circumference of what it has been given, and how it was created and why it was created. We're not going to go into those yet. Let's just stick to anyway. So the first thing I thought of is, let's surround that subconscious part of me with love and support for all that it does do. You can't not appreciate something that works 95% of your day on behalf of you. So that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. And the subconscious is not even recognized in most people. Scientists talk about it, psychologists talk about it, but from this perspective, they do not. And that is that if we deny a part of ourselves from doing the best they're doing the best that they can with what they've been given, and we deny that and we shame it, much like a lot of people do with the ego, we're not gonna evolve inside self. I'm talking about from me to you and you to me. I'm not talking on a humanity level, because that's another quantum perspective, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So you've heard the word, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, how much of the world you're affecting, you don't know, nor do I know. But how much of, and that goes out to the subconscious, how much of the subconscious are you and I creating in the collective, once we understand the subconscious within ourselves. So it all really just begins at home base level within self. The home in you, and the home is the best place for all of this to ponder and consider. If you go too far out into the wilderness that I call the collective, spend a lot of time there. And I think it's easier to get to love when you stay close to home, right? And some people call that self-love, but what does self-love mean? But a varied definition that goes very deep based on where you're capable of taking it. So I love when people use random things like self-love. And we all think we know the definition of things. The definition only grows when we grow. So even the subconscious of what I'm sharing with you can only grow when I grow. And then I can explain it from that perspective. Okay, I've got this one piece here. Let's pull it over here. Go with the group. So, with that said, let's talk about the subconscious. I'm very careful to explain the subconscious to you because we have to become friends with the parts inside of us that are doing so much of the work for us. And my subconscious is a hard worker. It works super hard to do the right things, to make the altruistic choices. But is it doing it from an expanded place? Have I provided a foundation for my subconscious to thrive in, to grow and to expand with freedom and open arms too? When I look at it now, I can see that there's so much possibility and growth that my subconscious and I can do together. But I didn't even know the mechanics of myself to know how to participate with myself in a way that could be expanding and growing and loving, right? And there's no school out there. We're not teaching this. And the way in which others are teaching about this did not relate to me because I've got different mechanics. And maybe even the way I'm explaining it to you may not relate to you. But it's creating a conversation that creates an investigation. And remember, there's never one way in which to explore something. You should explore it the way it feels most authentic to yourself. You shouldn't let me or anyone else try to direct you in a way that doesn't feel authentic to how you feel inside. We're all beautiful stars and we all are supporting each other's growth, but there's no one way to support and there's no one way to do things. I just always say that because I grew up not knowing myself, so I would seek the self of others, but it never was the self of me. So in the end, I would have to leave that reflection of self, and then I would either shame them or shame myself. But now I can see that I don't have to shame them or shame myself if I don't create a scenario within my own mindset that requires me to be like them or for them to be like me. And you can apply that. That's a good one because you can apply that across the board with like everyone. And at the same time, let's talk about the subconscious to that. The subconscious was mechanically made to compare, was mechanically made to shame. Okay? So it's my honor to do the best I can for my subconscious to support a new way of being and a new way of thinking. And my subconscious has a lot of patterning that takes a moment. So scientists say it takes 21 days to stop a pattern, right? For me, sometimes it takes longer because there's so many things that I'm working on at one time that I can only be aware of it when it shows up. And when it shows up, it may be in the full effect of it. And then once it's in the full effect of it, and I later have a chance to step away and resolve it first within myself, that may take some time. I'm working out the mechanics of Susan, is what I guess I'm trying to say, with the understanding that my subconscious is dealing with a lot of past life experiences before I got here, current life experiences since I got here. And I'm in a system that has never really embraced the awakening of humanity, which is my conscious soul part that is choosing to awaken, but I feel that it will be only beneficial if all parts have chosen, and they have. And now we're working with each individual aspect to give new awarenesses and new support systems. And that's what I'm going to say for right now on the subconscious. As always, my videos are meant to just share my heart in the most authentic possible way that I can. Creating a conversation that may be a rare find for some, may be an interesting find for others, and maybe a strange find for some others. But I show up no matter what with an encoding for my videos that these are meant for those that are ready to see and those that are ready to experience this conversation from a soul perspective, from a quantum perspective, from a perspective that that maybe is a reflection in the mirror, that we're not all very different from what we think and feel inside, and that each of us are doing our very best to have a human experience that that's also an awakening experience at the same time for ourselves and for those around us. One of my favorite tarot card readers, Awakening Spirit, she's amazing, says, be kind to yourself. And I say the same thing to you. Be kind to yourself. I love when she says that. Peace.